Welcome to F-Bomb History.
Every evening when the sun goes down, get with my party and I begin to clown. I don't care what the people are thinking. I'm not drunk, I'm just a drinking. I set 'em up, another round. I set 'em up, another round. I set 'em up, another round. One more round won't get me down.
Previously on F-Bomb History.
Custer doesn't hold his men back. They kill...
Not at all.
Everybody.
Okay, so after Washita, right? So this guy is Mr. Political Animal anyway. He's up and ahead. This is how I'm going to get ahead in my life. He starts this letter writing campaign in this journalistic freaking bullshit where he's writing anonymous letters accusing the president, accusing the Secretary of War, accusing the president's brother of all kinds of impropriety, all kinds of bullshit. Grant gets word of this.
Yep.
Oh, Grant's pissed.
Yeah, he is.
Hey, when you're an officer, don't piss off the president. Not a good thing. Not a good career move.
Yeah.
Really bad career move.
MacArthur found that out.
Grant wants him removed. Grant wants him out of there. Grant's freaking, you're done. Tells you're fucking through. Well, Custer ends up in D.C. trying to plead for his career. Plead for his career. The whole time, he's touting himself as the great hero of Washita.
Yeah.
He's the hero.
He wiped out all those women and children sitting on a fucking
all
reservation.
Those evil Indians. He wiped out the great hero
and
of
their
Washita.
horses.
Yeah, and and all the papers are just eating this shit up because, hey, it's Custer.
Yeah.
He's a great hero, right?
And his wife helped too.
His wife's wrote letters, all
He
kinds of
wrote his own book.
Sheridan's like, look, dude, you just got to go sit down and talk to the president and get it squared away. So he goes in, and he's like cooling his heels outside the Oval Office, and Grant lets him sit there for like 3 days. Every day, he's going in, he's sitting and cooling his heels. Next day, he goes in, sitting cooling his heels. Goes on for 3 days. He finally is like, you know what, fuck this. Gets on a train, he's like, I'm going back to my unit.
Yeah.
Soon as he gets on the train, Grant finds out and says, I didn't tell that son of a bitch he could leave. Calls up Sheridan, sends a note out to Sheridan and said, I want Custer arrested because he left without my permission.
Yep.
Sheridan's got no choice. Sheridan's stuck between a rock and a hard place. One, he wants to save his boy, Custer, right? But on the other hand, what's he going to go against the president?
Yeah.
Because he's going to commit political suicide too? No. So he sends a member of his staff to Chicago, and as soon as Custer gets off the train, Sheridan's staff member arrests him on the spot.
Now the papers are calling Custer the modern Caesar because, you're president and you're able to go on a train and drag off your officers in chains? Who the hell do you think you are? Like Caesar?
Grant just gets a lambasted by the press.
Big time.
Because he is hammering this freaking great hero of the Civil War, this great hero of the Western expansion, this great hero of the Battle of Washita, massacre of Washita. He drags him off a train and brings him back. Well, finally Grant relents and he sends him back to his unit and says, you're not going to be in charge of shit. Well, Custer goes to his commanding officer and says, dude, tears in his eyes, whole 9 yards. Just let me back. I'll be a good boy. Everything will be fine. I won't say anything. And then his commander says, yeah, all right, but you're not going to be in charge of shit. I'm going to be in charge of you. Custer came out of the meeting laughing, told the chief of engineers, I'll be under my own independent command within a month.
Yeah.
And he was.
All right, before we get into the final stand of many stands, I think I need the bartender to help me out here. Top me off.
Dun, da, da. And thank you to the lovely
Thank you,
Addie.
Addie, bartender, who I'm not related to. All right, now, moving into Little Bighorn.
Might have heard of it.
Yeah.
Little Bighorn. June 25th, 1876. What's going on in 1876? It's the centennial 100 years of our great nation.
Now,
That's got some bearing on the story. It'll come out later.
all right, check this out. A couple things happened. First off, all the Indians out west were told, all right, look, you decide to live in peace with us, we're going to give you all this land in this shitty place that nobody wants to go. You know, like literally a place called Badlands, you know, in the middle of nowhere. And so you get all that because we don't want it, and it totally fucking sucks. You're going to have that as long as the grass grows and as long as the fucking
Stars are in the sky.
Right, you get it all forever and ever.
Have the Badlands.
Until all of a sudden, guess what happened?
There's gold in them there hills!
Oh shit, there's gold in them shitty hills.
Fuck.
So all of a sudden,
Now we're
since
fucked.
there's gold, you Indians are fucked. Now, Grant puts out an ultimatum. All of you Indians are now going to move to another shitty location, even shittier than the last location, and you have until January 31, 1876 to get there. And if you don't get there, we are considering you hostiles.
Again.
Now, a handful of Indians decide they don't play that
swear to
game.
God.
And it's the Sioux, it's the Cheyenne, it's what else? Arapaho. And so they all decide we're not going to play this game anymore. Those three tribes, basically, we're going to fight back because they keep doing this shit to us. They keep saying that we got this land forever and ever, and then they take it away as soon as somebody comes along and finds something interesting on the dirt we live on.
So one of the scariest things about having an insurgency is having that one dude that can bring everybody together.
Oh yeah.
So the guy that brought them all together was a guy who was a Lakota Sioux by the name of Sitting Bull.
Sitting Bull.
Sitting Bull brought all the tribes together.
Yeah.
Yep, and they brought them together. Friggin', what was it called?
What the entire Confederation was called?
No, the creek. They called.
Oh no, the Greasy Grass Creek, the Little Bighorn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, check it out. They all come together and they decide they're not going to back down. They're finally going to... Well, actually, I take it back. They didn't decide to fight. They decided to just not go into a reservation. They knew that if they fought, they'd probably be slaughtered, so they backed the fuck off and decided they're going to head north and just stay away from the white guys as much as they can.
Now, what's terrifying about this is the largest gathering of Plains Indians like ever in history.
About 6,000.
Yeah, it was pretty frightening
Yeah.
to white dudes out there. Was like, whoa, hang on.
And the numbers fluctuate
Not
between
cool.
1,000 and 6,000, depending on who you
There's
listen
a
to.
lot of dudes.
Yeah. In fact, one of the guys, when he looked out and saw the horses, he didn't know it was horses. It just looked like brown grass moving back and forth, and he realized, holy shit, that's like 6,000 motherfucking horses. And you couldn't tell that through your little fucking spy scope from 3 miles away.
Yeah.
All right, now, moving forward, Custer, obviously, is the guy who is chosen to go after these guys, because he's the big hero, Indian fighter.
Oh yeah, he's a tactical genius at this point too. Because what's he do? He's like, we're gonna move fast.
Yeah.
We're gonna move fast. It's all about fire. It's all about fast movement. Everything else. So, all those Gatling guns you got attached to me, I'm not taking that shit.
Now, the Gatling guns were kind of a new invention at this point in time. They came
Nobody
out
knew
toward the end of the Civil War.
Yeah, nobody really knew how to use them.
And they were around for about 10 years, but they were also kind of bulky, and so he was worried that they might slow him down. And there are a bunch of historians that say that's true, it might slow him down. But you know what? If they slowed him down, he'd be alive. Because
Well, the other thing he left, which is kind of, as a horse soldier, it kind of makes me kind of what?
Oh yeah, no shit.
Why would you do that? The other thing he did is he boxed up all his sabers. So all those soldiers, all those men, all his officers got rid of their sabers and boxed them away.
This is like the lifeblood of cavalry. Now,
That's what got him in nuts.
this is what. Oh, we just had to. Well, let me take it back. They moved up to this type of pistol, but he thought, okay, we just have this type of pistol. We won't need this anymore. And that was kind of a major bonehead. move.
And of course, a shorter version of this rifle.
Yeah.
The shorter version of this rifle was Trapdoor Springfield.
They did have that. Yeah, well, I take it back. His infantry had that, but he had a massive point of people that could. No, see, he had the ability of having this infantry to go with him, but he said, no, I don't need them. I can do it myself.
Just with the horses.
my cavalry.
It was cavalry.
All right.
Here's the first rule. Cavalry can take ground, right? Cavalry can smack ground around. Cavalry can't hold ground for shit.
Modern day version of cavalry is a tank. If a tank is out on the battlefield by itself, it's a fucking target. You gotta have people around you to protect you. So they
Same
work
thing with
together.
horses.
It works together. Infantry and cavalry work together. Now, June 25th, Custer's scouts, who are actually Crow Indians, they notice there's a huge bunch of fucking Indians down there, and they tell Custer about it. Now, Custer initially was thinking about waiting overnight, but then he thought they might get away. So no, let's just charge right in there and just fucking knock it out right off the bat.
So it tells Reno, hey, you're going to take the right. You're going to swing around to the right.
Low ground.
On the low ground,
Yeah.
and you're going to sweep into the right-hand side of the camp. Reno does this.
But well, actually, there was a bunch of basic bushes, trees, and shit, and he could move forward. Reno moves forward. Now, remember the Washita River. Part of Custer's tactics, and he actually wrote about this in his own books, part of his tactics is if you can fire on the women and the children,
It'll bring the warriors.
the warriors will move back and defend them, and then you could surround them and wipe them out. So Reno, at long range, with this type of rifle right here, the 45-70,
Spreads out in a skirmish line.
yeah, and starts firing on the village, and the first people to get hit are the women who are working on the outskirts. And so women starts getting down. As soon as that happens, everybody, all the warriors show up and just start storming in on Reno. They move in and want to take him out because you're killing their women and their children.
They had no idea how big this camp was. This camp was huge.
Yeah, it was.
Huge. And so he tells Benteen to go to the other end of the camp. Benteen can't find the other end of the camp
No.
because it's that damn long.
And Custer moves along the high ground because he saw from a distance a big bunch of horses tied up. That's where they kept the horses, kind of like a corral. Now, Custer also realizes if I move there and there are shots fired, what will happen is the women will run to the horses because they are the horse holders. He knows that if he can get the women there and he can either hold them hostage or shoot upon them, then he can pull off the Indians that are hitting Reno right now.
So, Reno's getting smacked around. All of a sudden, here comes this big blast of freaking Indians coming after Custer.
Yeah.
Now we're to two different separate fights going on at the same time, unsupporting of each other. They can't support each other at all. Reno's getting hammered. Custer's can't get to him. Custer's starting to get hammered. Crazy Horse is whipping the boys up into a frenzy because Crazy Horse was the preeminent war chief. That dude was a badass, right? And what happens is they send Reno sends a bugler, an Italian bugler. Can't remember his name.
Mario!
Nah, something like that.
Mozzarella.
Yeah, Italian guy. Sends the Italian.
Hold it.
Martini.
Yay! Martini.
Should remember that one.
Martini.
Mario.
He sends freaking Trumpeter Martini off to go give a message.
Woo!
Throwing bananas and shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, sends Martini off to go get help. And according to the official statement, was it Benteen couldn't understand it because Martini had a hard time
That's a lot of Indians out there.
speaking English.
No shit, yo.
So that dude was getting raked under the coals by the end of this thing. He got freaking hammered flat.
Yeah. Now, Reno has one thing going for him. Remember the low ground is where he's at? He's actually on the river. So the river's got all this scrub oak and everything.
Yep.
He's able to pull back into these woods, and his men do exactly what they did during the Civil War. When the firepower was so intense, what do? You go underground. His men start digging in. They are literally using everything. They're using their plates, they're using everything. Whatever they can have, they're digging in. Now, this style of warfare of going underground comes into play about 20, 34 years later during World War I. But it starts in the Civil War. But they dig in, they go down, and because of that, Reno doesn't get shot to pieces. And somehow we have a spin-off now with our food show, the big fucking food bomb.
Food bomb.
Food bomb, F-bomb, F-bomb, food bomb. Would you like a little Bighorn cookie?
Oh, it's a little Bighorn.
Cookie. So, what's the weather like?
Hey, yeah, Haley, what is the weather like at the little Bighorn when this is going on?
Thanks, guys. Custer's last stand saw temperatures in the hundreds, with a hazy fog covering the field in the late afternoon. I'm not allowed in the state of Montana, but I do know that highs can reach 100 and lows 45 in the summer months, and it can be dusty and hazy in the late afternoons, attributing to probably low visibility on the battlefield.
So, according to some of the Cheyenne after-action reports, because they did interview some of the Cheyenne soldiers.
Nobody knows what happened because everybody died.
Well, everybody knew, not from our side.
Well, yeah.
You know, or the American side.
Yeah. And none of the Indians really wanted to tell the truth.
But they said that some of Custer's men attempted to cross the river, actually, and they got pretty much, chased down and slaughtered from the west bank of the river.
What was cool, though, is before they slaughtered them, they ran up and whacked them with their coup sticks.
And they kind of cool off.
And kind of coup off them first, and then they chopped them into little bits.
Yeah, that's
what you
turn
do.
them into wolf bait.
Yeah.
All right, so, for a minute there, it appeared as though the cavalrymen were attempting to fight in open skirmish order, right? But what that requires is every fourth man in a skirmish order is holding horses.
Yeah.
Right, so every fourth man is holding literally 4 horses,
He doesn't
plus
have
his own horse, 5 horses apiece.
And got no
So
gun in his hand.
one quarter of his firepower is holding horses.
Yeah.
Well, that turned into no, we ain't doing that no more. Horses started getting whacked, and it appeared as though by the end in Custer's little area, right? And of course he tried to send word to Benteen, hey, come help.
Remember Benteen?
Benteen coming back to bite him in the ass. And
Yeah.
Benteen was later court-martialed for, why didn't you get there fast enough? And Benteen was like,
It's like, hey, should we go help that guy that left behind my buddy and fucking had him killed?
I don't know. Yeah, so there was a big kind of weirdness about that. Well, it appeared as though by the end of the fight, Custer's men started like slaughtering their own horses and using them for cover.
Yeah.
Because there they are on top of this ridge line, no cover at all. I've actually been to the Bighorn site, the Battle of the Little Bighorn site. I've actually been there. And one of the interesting things that you don't really find in some of the written accounts, but you do find later on after they did an extensive archaeological dig in the mid or early 80s, the ammunition that the men were using was, of course, made by the lowest bidder.
Yeah.
And it was actually wound ammunition. It was brass wound on a spindle and forge welded together, essentially.
Yeah.
But what happens is when the barrel gets hot on that weapon right there, the brass comes unwound. And what happens to that? The chamber becomes jammed. So what did they find? They found a bunch of pocket knives with the tips broken off, where they've been trying to pull rounds out of the chambers because their weapons were going down. Trying to pull rounds out of the chambers because their weapons were down because they got too hot, right? And here on the flip side, what are the Indians using? The Indians are using lever guns in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
And what lever guns they're not using? They're using
Oh, yeah.
these.
They got a lot of these.
They're
now.
laying around
They just
now.
happen to have a lot of these laying around.
They're laying around. They're picking up trailer Springfields everywhere.
And the big misnomer that Indians didn't know how to shoot. No, yeah, hell yeah, they did. Because when you live in a prairie where you got to shoot freaking quarter mile away to kill something, you're a pretty damn good shot.
You figure out how to shoot real quick.
Yeah.
So by the time it's all over, 2 days later, the army went and found Custer. All the men were mutilated,
Chopped up.
heinously.
And it actually depicted, the Indians did like a photographic record of this, but they didn't have cameras. So they drew pictures on the back of the skins of their buffalo, and they had little pictures of all Custer's men all chopped up in little bits. A little arm here, a head there, a leg there.
You can find it. You can still find this picture.
Yeah.
So yeah, Custer was lauded a great martyr. Now here's where it goes back to it being the centennial.
Yeah.
Remember,
1876.
1876, the
Yeah.
centennial of the United States.
Yeah.
We just went through the largest conflagration in our nation's history. The Civil War had only been 10 years before. We're trying to figure out, how do we heal?
The South was still under occupation.
The South is still being occupied.
Yeah.
All right, there's an occupation force in the South. How do you heal this? How do you heal this nation? We have to have heroes. We're starving for heroes.
Yeah.
Starving for them. Nobody wants to talk about the Civil War anymore. Fuck that. Everybody had problems. Everybody had something in the Civil War. There was entire towns totally wiped out by the Civil War. All the men never came home.
Yeah.
Things like that. Nobody wants to talk. There's no heroes in the Civil War. Not at all. Kind of hard to find one now, really, if you think about it. No real true heroes in the Civil War. And America didn't want to look at that. The Battle of the Little Bighorn, though, that was their times. That was that time's 9/11 event.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. we thought the native was gone. We thought the Indian, we thought that was a thing that was a thing in the past.
Yeah.
No, it ain't.
Well, not only that, but the Yankees up north thought, oh, we're so mighty and powerful, we were able to defeat the South. We'll just wander through the West and take out those little Indians real easy.
The little brown guys, we just roll over them.
There's a thing that happened in the Korean War we might talk about in the future. Who knows? Called Task Force Smith.
Yeah, this was a Task Force Smith.
And basically what that means is America got so cocky because of the last war they won that they thought they were invincible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hubris, I think, is the word we're looking for.
Yeah.
Suffered from a big lot of it.
Hubris.
And all of a sudden,
Puberty.
Custer gets his freaking little pee-pee smacked into the earth.
Puberty.
Everybody goes, oh fuck, holy shit. It changed how people looked at the Army. Because the Army at that time, there was very few Americans, actual native-born Americans in the Army.
Now,
The
the Southerners weren't getting involved, and the Yankees were like, we have this shit already. So it was mainly Germans and Italians
and French and Irish.
Shit tons of them.
It was like, so
It was like a foreign legion.
It was a foreign legion at the time. So the Army actually went back, looked at their own training standards like, hey, we only give 20 rounds a year for a soldier to learn how to fire his weapon. That's literally in a book. I read it. Can give you we'll give you some resources later after this is done, right? But yeah, why are we only giving guys 20 rounds a year to even familiarize themselves with their own weapons? It changed how training was done. It changed how people were manned. It changed the Army in a huge way. It was a transitional phase, and all of a sudden the Army became a much more professional force, and there was a huge push towards the profession of arms and not just the scum of the earth is in the Army kind of thing. It totally changed how I think. But
it also started the Army on the road to a more modernized weaponry, too.
It did.
Moving into, because of the Franco-Prussian War, which we may cover another time, but because of the Franco-Prussian War, bolt-action rifles. So the idea of this rifle being what you rely on, where you might have to dig out the round with a damn knife, all of a sudden that might change, too.
So, everything becomes a little more modern. Again, what did this do in the long run, though, for the Native Americans? It was a great victory for the Native American peoples. It was a great victory for the Native tribes.
It fucked them up.
But in the long run, it was the beginning of the true end. It was the beginning of the true end. And it's something that I personally feel, and I'm pretty sure Pat will agree with me, it's something that we still struggle with.
Yeah.
We still struggle with that, because I look at the Indian War years as, that's a hard one to reconcile, man. That's a really difficult to reconcile.
Hard period.
It's a hard period of our history.
I had a roommate of mine when I was in the 82nd Airborne. He had a big poster on the wall. He was an Indian. And it said, Custer died for your sins. And that's how they felt about it.
Still to this day.
Yeah.
Still to this day. But anyway. So that was
our Custer episode.
That's Custer. And don't forget, you heard it here, Custer was a fucktard. Absolute fucktard.
Awesome leader.
Fucking douchebag.
He was fantabulous.
I would have fucking hated
one of the great.
Could you imagine working for that asshole?
He'd probably leave me behind and I'd be dead in the gutter.
Go work for Custer.
What is that smell?
Only half of you are gonna live. Only half of you are gonna live at all.
What does that smell, man? Anyway.
Yeah. Must be you.
Yes.
I'm Bert.
I'm Pat.
And this is F-Bomb.
F-Bomb History.
Woo!
Came home last night, all full of lush. My babe began to fuss, and I said, honey, hush. I don't care what the people are thinking. I'm not drunk, I'm just drinking. I set 'em up, another round. I set 'em up, another round. I set 'em up, another round. Oh, one